And he says, there is a sound of war in the camp. And Moses says, nah, it's not war. It's the sound of drink and revelry. So he knew that the people First book Enoch, (62:11). First Enoch with Yahweh's name restored. 62:11. I'm going to open like this because it is appropriate. And he quotes, so he will deliver to the Malachim for punishments, in order that vengeance shall be executed on them, oppressors of his children and his elect ones. It shall become quite a scene for my righteous and elect ones. They shall rejoice over the kings, the governors, the high officials, and the landlords, because the wrath of Yahweh of hosts shall rest upon them, and his sword shall obtain from them a sacrifice. It's the first book of Enoch, 62:11, justifies that Israel, O Israel, and if you don't know who I mean when I say, O Israel, then you need to go and study who you really are. It says that Yahweh, the Most High, has authorized you to take vengeance upon your oppressors. The same way they told us that God said that we should have been slaves, and they showed you a book that said it was true. Well, I just showed you a book that said it is true. I'd like to start off by welcoming all of the folks that have tuned in, not just across the United States, but those of you all who have joined me from the UK, the continent of Africa, the Middle East, Northern Africa, those folks in South America, Central America, and the folks out in the Pacific. I come to you today not as a citizen of the United States, not as an African descendant of slavery, not as a warlord or an activist. I come to you as a child of the Most High. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I will not allow us to continue to be separated into groups when we're all one group. It has been quite an interesting weekend, hasn't it? Go out and make them uncomfortable. And the multitudes that went out to make them uncomfortable did just that. As a matter of fact, some of you all are still making them uncomfortable. But we have to address two things, and that's why I've come before you. You see, you cannot be on the battlefield and coordinate the battle at the same time. Sometimes you have to throw a rock in the pond so we can see how deep the water is, so we can see what's in the water, and also to see how many soldiers you have that will jump in the water. You all executed that beautifully, worldwide. But let us stop and take a step back, because so much has happened in such a short time that you all need to understand just how fast we are moving. Someone once told me, I don't trust a person that I can't see their eyes. And I've told people that eyes are the windows to the soul. So because I want you to get this, we're going to have a soul-to-soul talk, if y'all don't mind. You see, 2020 rolled in, and we thought that we had it made. 2020 pulled up, and we said, well, another year, let's get some stuff done. But 2020 had some other plans in store for us, didn't it? If I can refresh your memory. 2020 started off with a pandemic, a scary situation. People didn't know what to do. We was even talking about going to war. That went out the window real quick, didn't it? But this pandemic came, this virus came, and people ran. They ran for their lives. They ran home. And the whole world ended up in quarantine. The whole world was on house arrest. Whatever you thought was important wasn't important anymore. Because the only thing you were worried about right now was if that cough that you had, could that be it? The news that leaked out of China was scary. What we saw, the images, the people, that's the only thing was on your mind. 2019 was gone because 2020 changed the whole paradigm. And we all went home. And there was nobody on the street. And there was nobody in the air. The animals could come out and the air was cleaner. And we were all in the house. And while we was in the house, we began to find out that this virus, this quarantine was worldwide. Countries didn't even have time to argue with each other anymore because the virus was worldwide. People didn't have to worry about whether or not they went to their job or whether or not they had their favorite football or basketball game. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all was there. Everybody was in quarantine. And we all began to wonder, how long was the quarantine going to last? And even if it wasn't going to last that long, how was we going to make it? Y'all remember that? All y'all was raiding supermarkets for hand sanitizer and toilet paper. The media had people fighting in the aisles at Walmart. This was our world. And everything in 2019 was gone. So we stayed in quarantine. Yeah, we did. We saw that our government was inept and incapable of actually handling a situation like that. It seemed to us that the only reason that everything worked was because we went along with it. We all started wondering, well, we're going to go along with this, but for how long? How long should it last? And what is our life going to be like when it's all over, when this quarantine ends? Then we started hearing about vaccines, and they're going to make you take a vaccine. And people was talking about they're going to put an ID chip in you. And that was our world because 2019 was gone. And then we started hearing about 5G. And 5G was going to make things worse. And we were worried about them coming in our homes. Y'all remember it was the needle or the bullet. People was like, no, they're not giving me no vaccine. No, they're not coming in my house. Y'all remember that? That was our world. But our government, or the people that like to govern us, I'll say, thought that it might be a good idea if we got people back to work. You know, if we got back out in the streets just a little bit. Because remember, you had suddenly become essential or non-essential, which was interesting because a lot of us thought we had important jobs. But apparently they weren't that important anymore because the people that they called essential, it was basic stuff they was doing. So we were like, okay, well, maybe, maybe there's some way that those folks are expendable. I don't know. But they said, I'm not. I got to stay in the house. And quarantine dragged on. People started coming back out. And when the people came back out, interesting thing happened. We started hearing reports of clashes between law enforcement and people who were just coming out. Remember, these are people, you people, who had been cooped up in the house, couldn't go nowhere. And if you did, you had to dress up, from head to toe. You was wrapped up like you was in Mad Max or something. And that was your life. You only went out if you had to. But these people that got to come out, they was having problems with law enforcement. And we know that people, can be disobedient, but it didn't make sense because we saw two pictures. We saw white folks that had came back out, even when they wasn't supposed to, and they was doing all kinds of crazy shit. And they weren't getting harassed by the police. But then we saw pictures of black people trying to do the same thing and getting just straight head cracked. Like, what did they do that was so wrong? They've been cooped up in the house. Not only that, a lot of people went into the quarantine and they didn't have a lot. They weren't prepared for this. They only had what they had. A lot of other people got to stock up. They were ready. They were good. But a lot of people didn't. And then the stimulus check came for some of us. Some people didn't even get one. Oh, we knew something was going on because there was reports of people getting $8 million in their bank account by mistake all over the place. Who was sending out all this money? The government. But some people didn't get that. And they had to make do with what they had. So coming back outside was a blessing. Anybody who's been incarcerated knows that when you're incarcerated, you look forward to time on the yard. You look forward to getting to see the sky, even if it's just for a little bit. Maybe you can commune with Yah. We don't know. But when they let the people back out, the police was acting very aggressive. And we thought it was just here in America. And then we started hearing reports from all around the world that all of the law enforcement was being pretty aggressive in an unbalanced way. But y'all let that kind of ride. You talked about it because other things had happened. A lot of people lost their jobs. Matter of fact, more people lost their jobs than there was during the Great Depression. Yet they wasn't calling it a depression. And if that many people was out of work, the economy was going to be crashing. Then we started hearing it was going to be a food shortage. Meat was disappearing. I'm not a meat eater, but the meat was disappearing and prices was going up. This was our world 2-3 months into 2020. 2019 was gone. This was our world. But then things took a crazy turn. It took a crazy turn because we found out about a young man by the name of Ahmaud Arbery down in Georgia. Story leaked out. Ahmaud had been killed. Ahmaud had been hunted. Ahmaud had been killed and had been pretty much ignored. In this 2020, after the pandemic, after the quarantine, with high unemployment. Not only that, they still was talking about testing people and people was like, no, but then we hear about this young man got killed. And the whole country shifted from the pandemic, quarantine, and unemployment to wait a minute. Looking at the incidents with the police in New York and looking at what was happening on the beaches and in Florida and how they was treating us, we began to, well, this looked like white supremacy that's fueling police violence. What's going on? We just got out of quarantine. What they so angry about? What did we do wrong? We was quarantined like everybody else. We was supposedly catching COVID-19 more than anybody else, even though the statistics didn't support it, but that's what they said. So we was extra cautious. We came out, but we wasn't out like the white folks was. But yet we was getting beat up. We was getting head cracked with baton, choked up, thrown around. And in the middle of all of that, we found out that Ahmaud Arbery got killed. And when the story started to come out, y'all remember this, it got worse and worse by the day. And then before we could even get past that, in Kentucky, Breonna Taylor, y'all know the story. They went in there and killed that girl. And they were wrong. It was the police again. Matter of fact, the Arbery case wasn't even about police shooting nobody, ex-police, but this was about white people who felt like they had police authority. And they killed that boy. But then before we could get over that, well, we decided to do something different. Black folk, we decided to answer something that we knew very well. Apparently it survived the quarantine. Apparently it survived the pandemic. Apparently it didn't get unemployed. And that was white supremacy fueled police violence. Police brutality, as you call it. I know it's a lot of people on here saying, well, they beat up white people too. I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about black people. Because I just told you, yeah, white people get beat up too. They don't get beat up like black people. White people get shot too. They don't get shot like black people. You know, everybody get done wrong by the police, but not like black people. So this became a situation where a group of us got together and went down there to change the narrative, to show y'all if they're going to bring that back in 2020, we have to respond differently. So since talking didn't appear to work, we figure we show you. And this is not about who got courage. And this is not about, what you can or can't do. But to place yourself in a position of danger for something that really had nothing to do with you except that they were your same race. To go stand toe to toe with the police department, armed, knowing that they could shoot and you could shoot back and it would be a different situation, that either you're going to kill them or they're going to kill you. To put yourself in that position for your people, to show them this is how you do it. That changed the whole paradigm of what we do. And everybody said, that's right. Everybody said, this is it. This is what we've been waiting on. This is what we're down for. We're not putting up with the old style no more. We're going to do it different. Everybody wanted to get on the bandwagon, and that's great. But our pain was so deep. Our wounds are cut so deep. And we're still bleeding and hemorrhaging from hundreds of years of being cut so deep that the response was beyond anything that even I could have imagined. There are not hundreds of you. There are not thousands of you. There are millions of you who feel the same way. Before we got a chance to get our hands around that, and for those of you all who've been wondering, if you go to blackinfact.com, you will see the website that we stood up. But the input of people has been so great, it has become incredibly unmanageable. And we figure we get it under control. The systems that they've used against us as black folks to deprive us of our rights, such as owning a gun or things like that we didn't think would ever become necessary, have come back to bite us in the ass. People can't get guns now because they got a domestic violence charge, or they got a dishonorable discharge from the military, or something has happened. They can't arm themselves now. And the process to get that cleaned up is daunting, to say the least. So we found ourselves handicapped in the face of a huge demand for what we would call justice. If you look in the book and you ask yourself, well, what does the word justice mean? A lot of people say, we want justice. But if you look in the dictionary and see what justice means, it'll tell you it's simply the upholding of a system that's in place, even if the system is unfair. So when you say you want justice, you're saying, I want you to treat me under the system that is unfair, unless you change the system. But before we could get a chance to enjoy the fact that we had finally figured it out, before we got a chance to organize like we should so we would be prepared for the next egregious incident against blacks, we then had the incident with George Floyd. And when that happened, it was not only painful, now it was not only crystal clear, but it was so acidic and so caustic to our souls that it hurt even those who said they couldn't be hurt. And I know there's a lot of you all who saw this, didn't respond. I know there were those of you all who thought it was funny because we saw your jokes. And I know there were those of you all who said, this is a slam dunk case. But what we all found out was that when the next big offense happened, we were not prepared. We were not ready. We were just emotional. So, with 40 million people out of work, some folks suffering from quarantined poverty, with landlord vultures ready to start evicting people because the limit on not paying your rent has expired, which is going to cause more hardship, with food shortages already and a lot of people, again, affected by quarantine poverty and now about to lose their place, we then find out that, some things just haven't changed. When I said go out and make them uncomfortable, a lot of you all thought that this was the fire that you needed to start a war. When I said make them uncomfortable, some of you all who took up the mantra and picked up the flag said that, yeah, we're going to go out and do battle with the enemy. Problem was, you went out and did battle the way you've always done it. You didn't arm yourselves. You didn't organize yourselves. You became a mob, an unorganized, angry mob. You had every right to be angry. But being unorganized and being a mob made us open for agitators and outsiders to come in and just blur the whole process and leave you to get blamed in the end. Yeah, they might have caught one or two who got caught, but for the majority, what we failed to realize was that there was another operation already in play, a counter operation. So that everything that you did to express your anger, everything that you did to show them that, we still not letting you get away with this, even though it happened around the world, still did it in the same way. And because you did it in the same way, you got the same results. Police killings have been going on for a long time. White supremacy fueled police violence has been happening for a long time. Rioting is nothing new. But the people calling for an armed response when there are millions of you in the streets, but calling for an armed response means that you want violence. You don't want to be the ones to do it, though. You want a full-blown shootout in the middle of the street against a force that will eventually outman and outgun you. Yet this weekend, I saw thousands of people who outnumbered small pockets of police who didn't even have guns. I saw large numbers of people protesting, demonstrating against police who were dressed to the nine in all kinds of military gear, rubber bullets, not afraid to hurt you because they knew you couldn't hurt them. Yes, I salute all the people I saw physically engage law enforcement with your hands and whatever you had. But we did not do anything different. The white people care more about their businesses and their property than they do about you. The media is spending countless hours talking about the destruction, even though what they should have been doing was doing back-to-back stories about all of these black killings and how they haven't stopped and how this is the time that the government should make a change. And then you got all of these people that are coming out, saying, the police, we're not having it either. Really, but you still do it. You saw all of these things, but the focus is in the wrong place. Focus was in the wrong place. So I have to say today that after witnessing everything that's happening this weekend, remembering that we came out of a pandemic, we came through a quarantine, we came through, and now we got high unemployment. Racism is alive and well. And so is anarchy. Because there's some people, they don't want to fix nothing, they just want to tear up some shit. We know that. But you did bring pressure. You did make them uncomfortable. You didn't tear up your neighborhoods. You tore up stuff that they value. You scared the president into his bunker. He was hiding in his bunker for about an hour. The president, the most powerful man on the face of the earth, ran and hid in his bunker because y'all was at his door. And people began to realize something. What kind of a country are we turning into? What kind of a world are we turning into? When you have the president hiding in the bunker, but the police are aggressing people even in their homes, go in the house. It's almost remnant of the Nazis, a Nazi style response to us. So it became obvious that a few things need to happen, not just us shooting in the streets, y'all. Look, I'm going to tell you why nothing's changed. You can't chant this away. You cannot walk this away. And for all you other white folks, we don't need you to agree with us. You see, action always speaks louder than words. And there were people out there taking actions that were not yours on your behalf, as if you were angrier than you were. 38 states across the United States were burning. More than half of the country was on fire. But they want you to believe that you did that all by yourself. Some of y'all said we were just demonstrating. A demonstration is the execution of an example of something. What are you demonstrating? How not to get results? And then, of course, there are those who thought that it was their duty to jump to the front and lead us. Where have you led us? Where are we that we weren't Friday? Yeah. This is chess moves, not checkers. And a lot of you all are jumping around like it's a chess game. Blacks don't need to protest anymore. Demonstrate what? You're making chess moves to martial law. You see, if you don't resist them and they continue to close in, they will lock us into martial law. But if you resist, it becomes something else. It becomes a civil war. So, the black people of the planet, including the ones in America, need to make a decision collectively, stand by it, and execute it. You say you want a black organized armed militia, you're running around thinking, that's what we need, that's what we need, that's what we need. But there are millions of you. What you need are independent cells organized in your own area, just like NFAC, where you can call on them locally. That when the police come out, you can call them out. When they call for backup, you can call for backup too. The same way they have police stations at police organizations, you should have one too. You see, the purpose of not fucking around was to let you know that our mindset changed and that there were several things that we needed or we wanted to get done. And a lot of you all just interpreted that as just shoot motherfuckers. Policing is wrong in its current configuration in the United States. It needs to be either restructured or it needs to be mirrored by black folks. Racism in the United States is still not considered a crime. Yeah, there are hate crimes on the book, but like the police officer who's displaying the white supremacy sign, or the white folks that were pulling up, making jokes about Mr. Floyd, and then daring black folks to do something about it, knowing they're provoking them, incidences and expressions based on racism. It's not against the law. Only when you kill somebody do they call it a hate crime. Tokenism at an all-time high. They always got to find somebody that look like us to roll them out to tell us everything gonna be all right. Tokenism. They roll out somebody to say, don't take all this violence. We need to sit down at a table and we need to work it out. And with the commission. Tokenism. When you are a part of the machine that incarcerates us and you got the nerve to be on TV talking about, I can't believe they smashed up my bail bonds business. Tokenism. When you step up and you celebrate the fact that you got put into a leadership position and everybody's clapping because you're black. And then as soon as something happened, you're the most unblack person up there. Tokenism. Pretending to be a friend of the black people. Sorry for your loss. That's all they say now. I'm sorry for your loss. No, I lose money. I lose a job. I lose a contest. I don't lose another person's life. They didn't lose anything. You took it. You should say sorry for your theft instead of saying sorry for your loss. Sorry for your loss is when your house burned down. Sorry for your loss is when they can't find your dog. Sorry for your loss is not Ahmaud Arbery. Sorry for your loss is not Breonna Taylor. Sorry for your loss is not George Floyd. Sorry for your loss is not anybody from Tamir all the way up to today. No, those are casualties of war. A black, organized, armed militia that could cover the entire United States so that everywhere we are, we can ensure that we are protected or that we can fight back. Imagine if that 7,000 people that I saw facing off with 35 police officers, imagine if they were all armed. Even if they had a stick, a rake, I don't care, a switch your mama used to beat you with. But trying to do this empty-handed and the only thing you have is your mouth and a telephone, that is sheep going to fight the wolf. And the wolf has no problem biting you, eating you, killing you. White folks, I don't want you to tell me again that you're going to go educate yourself. You already know what you do. We don't need you to come and tell us. We'll go back and we'll try to. No, stop. Stop. Stop insulting us. You see, there are people on this live right now that's quick to bring somebody's past up like you don't know your own past. People was quick to say, you know, Malcolm Little, he did all of this. Yeah, but he's Malcolm X now, so we don't want to hear that shit, okay? So white folks, don't talk to us like you don't know your past, that you got to go and learn, that you don't know how we got into this situation and why black folks are angry and why they're in the streets and why it's such a big deal and why did those white men look so comfortable and happy killing that man and why did those white boys chase that brother down in the street and think they could get away with it and why we don't need you, we don't want to hear no more why we don't. Somebody said, what's the plan? I tell you what the plan is. To the police all over the country and to police forces around the world that may be engaging in this practice, I have to ask this question to Mr. President, who's in charge of your law enforcement? Who's in command of your law enforcement? Because it's not you. To the Department of Justice and the FBI, who's in charge of the police forces? To the Fraternal Order of Police, who's in charge? Because whoever is in charge, I want to give you a message on behalf of all the rest of us if I can. You need to purge your forces of all of these white supremacists and white-minded black folks and white-minded Latinos and white-minded Asians and anyone that exhibits those behaviors. You need to purge your forces because you've been infiltrated. Because if you don't, what's going to happen is you're not going to have to worry about Nfac or anything else. These people are going to explode. And when they do, it's going to be the worst thing. It's going to be uncontrolled. It's going to be unstructured. It's going to be violent. It's going to be bloody. It's going to be messy. Some of y'all might want that, but a lot of us don't. You see, when you look at it, we don't have a history of violence against other people, but you do. And we know why it is. We know you got a guilt complex. You have a guilt complex, an inferiority complex. But what you've done is you've brainwashed our people into having an inferiority complex. That's just a brainwash, as if we're the problem. You kill one of our people heinously, and then you want to come down hard on us for responding. You tell us that you have the blue shield, the blue code. We have a code too. Y'all had the black codes. We have a code too. Here's our problem. Black folks, y'all can't stay on code together. For whatever the reason, you cannot stay on code. People ask me, why weren't the streets flooded with Nfac people? If I can't get all of y'all to do something as simple as change an ID pic on a social media platform, why do you think that you were prepared to confront what happened this weekend? The only thing that you did was help us flush out what they're going to do. You saw what they brought out. You saw all this new gear. You saw all of these undercover operations that's running. You see, technically, we're supposed to be social distancing. There was supposed to be no big crowds out there like that. But they wasn't practicing social distancing. Matter of fact, they were masked up and gassed up, didn't care. There were people who were aggressed, who weren't even doing anything. Gas sprayed in the face of people who had their hands up. Because you all still think you can chant your way or walk your way or whatever you think, sing your way out of this. Some of y'all think you can even talk your way out of this. I believe that we need to outlaw corporate media. It does not serve a purpose anymore. It doesn't. They're more concerned with the property than assisting with the issue. Where are all the nonstop stories about the killings? Where is that? There should be town halls, and we should be looking at stories going all the way back. There should be an expose on the beginning. No, they just want to show you that so-and-so store got messed up. A store. And then you got the folks who come along and they weak and they say stuff like, well, y'all just destroying businesses and you're killing the economy. I hate to be the one to break the news to you, but your president already killed the economy when he failed to respond to the pandemic in a timely manner and let 100,000 people die and put 40 million people out of work and then threw them a little stimulus check that's already gone. No, people burning up them stores is not going to tank the economy. Especially when most of those stores aren't even U.S. based. Target got their one store tore up. They're closing stores all across the country. Who shops in Target? So no, we're not falling for that. See, you couldn't convince everybody that we was burning up our own stuff when you saw your stuff getting burnt up. And oh yes, again, I asked, who's in charge of the police? Because the police was out there starting stuff too. Oh, the police was undercover, breaking windows and starting fires. They say that somebody burnt up the police station. Really? Did you see the response when the police station was burning? That wasn't the same response that they had back in Baltimore when the CVS got set on fire for Freddie Gray. They brought the police down there so the fire department could fight the fire. Yet you're going to let a fully equipped police station loaded with guns and explosives, bulletproof vests and helmets and all kind of stuff, a property room, you're going to let them just burn? Interesting. So what I'm saying to you today is, as of today, I am going to say to you that there are millions of you that want to respond. There are millions of you that want to be organized right now. There are millions of you that already have your organizations and already have your pockets of resistance and already have, and I know because I've talked to a lot of you, you already have these things. Grow them. equip them. And then when you have your unit or whatever you want to call it together, and you're automatically a chapter or a branch. You see, it's going to take a network. We're not talking about people who are ex-felons and say, hey, can you help me get my rights restored? We're talking about all of you legal gun owners who go to the range for fun, who know somebody else, that are in the same city, who got enough backbone to go out and police your own neighborhoods, to go out and confront the police. You already have that. You don't need me or anybody else to tell you what you need to do. All you have to do is get up and do it. The same way y'all got up and got in the streets, the same way y'all decided to start turning up stuff. You see, you can take all that energy and you can channel it, that before you go out, we're going to be organized. Before we go out, we all going to be on the same sheet of music. And if people want to just go and stand around and chant and walk and sing, you let them. But you stand apart and say, that's not what we're here for. This is our neighborhood. This is our community. So we're going to protect our community, but you have to be on the same page. They're not going to stop. And right now, they're just pacifying you. Right now, they're telling you anything and everything. And now they're even treating you like kids again. It's a curfew. You grown ass man, you grown ass woman, but you got a curfew. Didn't you just come off a house arrest? But now you got a curfew. Why? Because they want to protect the property. They still haven't charged the other police officers, even though more video has showed up that they were beating the man up before they killed him. They still haven't done anything. Please, whatever you all do, I know what I saw. And I hate to say it, but what I have to say now is going to be hard to hear, black people. But the reason that things went down the way they did this weekend, and they're still going down in some cities, the truth is you don't have any leadership. You act like you don't know how to unify anymore. You don't want to follow anybody. You don't want to kill anyone. I told y'all that I would die for you, but that also means I would kill for you. But you got to be wanting to kill for yourself. You don't want to separate. Here's the craziest part of all. You don't demand anything. You get out in the street and you act crazy, but you don't demand anything. Even when people get up and give great speeches about what it is and what we ain't going to do and all of this, but they don't whip out, they don't go in their pocket and whip out now. We won't blah, 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 blah. And if we don't get it, you understand what I'm saying? This is going to be hard for y'all to hear. But I got to tell you this. You are your own worst enemy. I'm going to let that just hang. You're your own worst enemy. If you get out of your own way, you'll be all right. How many times have y'all heard me say when I'm doing facts over feelings that did nobody come to hear me? Don't nobody give a damn about me, but you came to hear what I had to say because I'm speaking on behalf of somebody else. Well, here's some tough love for you black folks. You're your own worst enemy right now because you refuse to do those things. And they're not going to take you seriously until you take yourself seriously. Of all of the people that have volunteered their services for Nfac, we can't even get it together to get them up off the ground because you all are so disjointed. And now you've gotten so large that it's almost impossible to manage you. So I have no choice but to tell you, organize yourselves. if you want this to stop. You've been through a pandemic. You've been through a quarantine. You now got high unemployment. You're the victim of white supremacy fueled police violence. You're the victim of police killings. We are standing on the edge of either martial law or civil war. For all of you all who kept asking, why aren't we in the streets shooting? If we shot anybody, the backlash on you all would be unimaginable. But if we all were armed, if we all were a threat, even if it was a collective threat, you would get a different response. I don't have to hide this right now. We were going to come to a certain city as a show of force so that when the protesters came out, voila, there we are, so that the police might act a little more sanely. But what we found out is sometimes our worst enemy looks just like us. And until that part changes, it does us no good to face off with the police when somebody will shoot us in the back that looks just like us. If you're an African descendant of slavery, you need everything. I understand that you're still suffering from post-traumatic slave disorder, and I'm not going to sit here and repeat anything that I've already said to you in all of the videos that I put out. I think I've said enough. I think I've spoken enough. I think I've come before you enough. I think you all get the message and you know what you need to do. If Nfac becomes anything else, it just becomes a battle cry that we're not fucking around with anybody else anymore. And that if it's good for you, it's good for me. If you can do it to me, I can do it to you. White people, we want y'all to keep the same energy when we do to you what you're doing to us. When we give you the same excuses that you give to us. When we tell you that you had an underlying health condition and that's why you died of strangulation. When we tell you that you looked like you were reaching in your waistband when you were probably just reaching in your pocket, you know, keep that same energy. But black folks, if you want them to take you seriously, lose the speeches. Get yourselves organized in your city. Don't wait for somebody else to come to your rescue when you won't rescue yourself. You can organize drug gangs. You can organize a drug syndicate. You can organize the ways to smuggle and deceive, even with communications. You can figure out how to outsmart the man so that he don't have a clue what you're doing. So you don't need me to tell you how to organize. The only problem is a lot of you have no discipline. A lot of you have no sense of direction, and a lot of you will not listen to anyone. Yet you want to do what you want to do, but wonder why they keep screwing you over. See, they're unified. The police are unified. White folks are unified against you. I asked you all to make them uncomfortable, and I salute you. You did. What comes next is not up to us. It's entirely up to you. So y'all let me know when y'all are really ready to form a black militia for real, that's not going to take all of this skullduggery and fuckery that I see going on. Y'all let me know. Because if I recall, this whole shit got set off because me and some other people went and put our fucking lives on the line for y'all. We didn't talk about it. We didn't post about it. We did it as an example. So y'all let me know. You know how to find me. And if you haven't heard yet, the website is blackinfact.com. If I come before you again, if you hear from me again ever in life, I hope it's with better news than this. Because black folks, what you have shown me is that even after 60 years, after they killed every other black leader that you had, you still are so self-hating and still so jealous and still so envious of another black person, even when they're trying to pull your ass up out of the muck, that maybe that's where you belong. And on that note, I think I've held y'all too long. Y'all got better things to do because you don't want to listen to a brother like me. Y'all get at me if y'all serious about y'all business. In the meantime, I can go back to my comfortable ass life and just watch the whole thing burn up like a lot of y'all are doing because you don't want to listen to people like me. You want to listen to people who make music for you. You want to listen to motherfuckers that don't care anything because they're not a part of what's happening on the street. You want to listen to people who just throw you an accolade. You want to listen to people who look like you, but they walk in with the police. See, I used to be that stupid. So when y'all ready, like I'm right back to my old saying, whenever y'all are ready, y'all holler at your boy. In the meantime, I wish you peace, enlightenment, love, and all the other stuff that you can get. But you're not going to really get that unless you go get it. That's my word to everybody listening to me in the United States and around the world. The shoe has dropped and the ball is in your court. We've already shown you how to do it. So just like Nike said, fuck that bullshit about don't do it. I'm saying just do it.